Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, fellow dancers with menopause. Suzette here. You know, menopause is something that all women, once they get to a certain age, will go through, some earlier than others. And for a lot of us, me included, it's a time of confusion and it's a lot of mystery surrounding menopause. And I wish that I had found out these 5 things before I even entered menopause. It would have helped me a great deal. And I'm going to list the 5 things that I wish I had found out. And then afterwards, I'm going to list what I would have done differently. So I've got my notes as usual. And so the first thing I would have let myself embrace is that menopause is a journey. It's not a one time event. When I entered menopause at age 50, I thought that by now, 9 years, almost 10 years later, that I would have been through it. I would have been over it. There would have been no more hot flashes, no more of any of the symptoms that come with menopause. However, that is not the case. Menopause is a transition that happens over several years. And, the more time goes on, at least for me, the more symptoms I realize that menopause comes with because different symptoms come up at different times and just knocks me over the head and catches me again by surprise. And hitting perimenopause, I remember my first hot flash. I wasn't a Peace Corps at the time, and I was in my apartment, and all of a sudden I got so hot. I was in my 40s. All of a sudden I got so hot. I was alone, so I could, dispose of clothing. I thought nothing of it. It was during the summer. I thought, oh, it's just a little, thing, whatever. But then it happened a couple nights after that, and then I realized, wait a minute, that was a hot flash. Talk about by surprise. I hadn't I didn't know that this was going to happen. And so that's when I entered perimenopause. Then I realized that my hormones were all out of whack. I started having irregular periods. And at that time, too, I had some serious issues with menstruation where I went 6 weeks and I thought I was going to die. And of course, me being the kind of person that keeps my head in the sand, I refused to go to the doctor, even though it felt like I was dying. Anyway, that went away. And then I thought, oh, okay, that's it. Again, that's part of the journey. But I didn't know. I have no idea. And so, knowing that menopause is a gradual process, knowing that it's not a sprint, that it's a marathon, that would have helped me a great deal had I armed myself with that information. Number 2 is that my hormones are going to be a roller coaster. Talk about moods, talk about ups, and talk about downs. Hormones. The levels are decreasing. In my last video, I talked about that and how it can affect so many areas of our body. And, one moment, one day you're feeling fine. The next, you don't know what's happened. You think that, oh my gosh, what's going on? And who is in my body? And what is this body? Because it doesn't feel like it's your body. And so these things, they all catch us by surprise. And having these feelings, it's not necessarily tied to the knowledge that this is because of hormone fluctuation. Therefore, once again, having that information would have been very helpful for me. I wish someone had told me to keep an eye on these shifts in my hormones. That way I would have been better prepared to manage them and to just ride it out as I went along. That's number 2. Number 3 is sleep disruption. Oh my gosh. Insomnia. It's a big thing. And of course, because of lower levels in progesterone, that's why we go through insomnia. And again, it's not a one-time event. Insomnia, it comes. Then, at least for me, you ladies let me know in the comments if the same thing happens to you. It comes, Then it goes and you think, oh, I'm over it. That's done. That's behind me. No, it comes back. And as I told you ladies before, mine, I had such severe insomnia for like 10 months. And that was no picnic, let me tell you. And I would take melatonin sometimes, and sometimes that thing didn't work because it's like, yeah, no, try again, get something else. That's what my body would say. So, I wish that I had known because I would have approached sleep in a different way. And I'll tell you about that a little later. Please, ladies, thank you for those of you who have subscribed. And for those of you who have not, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It would help me greatly. And I appreciate all of you ladies who have already subscribed. So, getting back to sleep disruptions, the key is not to underestimate how menopause can affect your rest. The key is to know when it's happening and take immediate action. I am still trying to figure out how that is. I've tried some different things and I'm still not mastered the sleep disruption bit. And so I keep learning. It's a learning process. And each time is different. Sometimes I will take, like I said, I would take melatonin. Sometimes I do chamomile tea. Sometimes it will work. Sometimes it won't. And I just go with it. So, number 4, your mental and emotional health. Ladies, I can tell you, I remember the first time I started feeling depressed after I hit menopause. I did not know why, because everything was going great in my life. I had my great job, my great career. Everything was wonderful. I had no clue what was going on. And so at one point, I mentioned it to my general practitioner during my annual physical, and she said, that's a symptom of menopause. My mind was blown. Really? It's going to affect my mental health too? And over the years, it would come and it would go. And of course, I've told you ladies already, again, in that extreme symptoms video, how it took me 3 years to master managing my mental health. And I keep saying this all the time, ladies. This menopause journey is not a sprint. It's not a one-time event. It is a marathon. It's evolving, and we're also transitioning as we go deeper and deeper into this journey. And so our mental health takes a hit. There are days when I feel motivated to do things. There are days when I don't. And I read this thing this morning that said, pause if you must, but make sure that when you rise up with the determination to keep going. And that exactly summarizes how my journey with menopause is when it comes to my mental and emotional health. I've learned to pause if I must, because it's a part of self-care. And I'm big on self-care, as you ladies know. So I've done therapy, I've done mindfulness exercises, I meditate every day. And so it's just every day, just being intentional about how you're going to handle it if you're feeling down, if you're on a down, the down dip of the roller coaster. It's just a matter of knowing how to manage it. And number 5 on my list of 5 things I wish I knew before I entered menopause, I wish I knew that it can also be empowering. Yes, menopause and this journey and this transition, this, as I like to call it, this second rite of passage, it is empowering because we have gone through so much as women by this point. And for those of you who've got kids, you've gone through having those kids, raising those kids, sending them off to college or to careers, or they leave home. And then you've got all of this wonderful time to yourself to pursue your own dreams, hopes, and dreams. And menopause also brings a new sense of self awareness. I am more self aware now than I have ever been. And I think it's because I take time for introspection, and I also take time for meditation, and I take time for me as well. And I take time to set goals. I've got some goals of three goals that I've been working on now for a few years myself, and one of my very dear friends. We're accountability partners for each other. And we have goals that we're working on. She's also in her menopause journey. And it feels great to be working towards something, to be working towards making ourselves better than we are, to be working towards, finding out what it is that we want to do with the rest of this one precious life that we have, to take time to improve on ourselves and take time for self-love and self-care. So it can be quite a beautiful journey despite all of the above things that I mentioned. So don't discount that. Take time to get to know you. This is a great time to do it because of all these changes that are happening. Take that time to get to know you and to embrace the journey because it's not going anywhere, and it's something that is here to stay until we're no longer suffering with the symptoms, which I hope will be soon for myself and for all of you ladies that have been in it for a while like I have. So take that time, and be joyful along the way. So that's the five things that I wish I knew. So, how about I go through a little bit of what I would have done differently? So, what I would have done differently, I would have educated myself sooner. I can't stress that enough. For those of you ladies who are in perimenopause now or approaching perimenopause, or even in your 30s and you want to know what's ahead, please don't do like I did. Educate yourself sooner about all the symptoms, about all the hormonal changes, about all the things that are going to happen because of hormone fluctuations. And that way you have this knowledge, and that itself is empowering. That is empowering because we're getting to know how our bodies are going to be for the next phase of our lives. I wish I had gotten the education sooner. I definitely would have put myself in a position to succeed throughout this journey in a much better way. And so I would go back and start learning about perimenopause and menopause if I could. But you know what? It's never too late. And I am learning each day, each new change, each new symptom. I am learning more and more about my body. I'm also learning more and more about my strength because let me tell you, you ladies know we are strong to begin with, but it takes that extra bit of strength to be able to keep going and keep powering through it and to bounce up every time we feel down and to just get on with our lives, with our wonderful lives. All right, number two, I would have monitored my hormones earlier. As I told you ladies in the last video, there are tests that you can take, that you can let your doctor uh, take to give you an exact or an idea of your hormonal levels. It's urine test or blood test. And so I would have done that had I known that I would have been going on this hormonal roller coaster that I'm going on. That way, I would have been able to start taking supplements earlier to help alleviate some of those. I would have done a whole lot more research as to which supplements, which foods, which is going to be my next video actually, which foods help with menopause symptoms. So watch out for that. Which foods I should incorporate more of in my diet. And I would have been in such a better place. And so, number three, I would have prioritized sleep sooner. I guess I was a little bit of a night owl before menopause, and I could also sleep in though. If I stayed up late one night, I wasn't working. If I stayed up late one night, I could sleep in. I cannot sleep in now for the life of me, ladies, even if I'm up late the night before. Even sometimes if I have taken melatonin or drank some chamomile tea, I cannot sleep in for the life of me. I don't understand why. And I love sleep. I don't get enough of it. But I just can't. I can't do it. So I would have prioritized sleep, and I would have put a system in place and been able to, head off this insomnia at the pass. So, what I'm going to be doing, one of the things that I'm going to be incorporating, I'm reading up more about this, is investing in cooling sheets and investing probably in a cooling mattress pad. So I'm going to be doing some research about this. And so maybe I'll tell you ladies about my research in the next video. When I'm talking about food, I'll do a little side note there. Okay. So that's what I'm going to be doing, because that is still very much a problem for me. Like, I'm still having night sweats, and sometimes if I have a hot flash at night, it instantly wakes me up. And sometimes I have a hard time going back to sleep. So I'm going to be doing a lot of research in how I can invest in these cooling elements that can help me to be able to sleep, get that nice deep REM sleep and stay asleep longer. So, more to come on that sleep aids. Number 4, this is the big one. When I first went to the doctor when I was having depression issues, and she informed me that it was because of menopause, I would have monitored that closer. I would have monitored that closer, and I would have taken action sooner. I would have gotten into therapy sooner. I would have started incorporating a whole lot of other things that can help me to manage my mood swings sooner. And so that was a big drop of the ball on my part. But now I'm doing it. So, you ladies, it's coming. So please put the steps in place to head it off at the pass, because it is no picnic. And so do yourselves a favor and make sure that you put something in place. Pay attention to your mental health, and that would be a game changer for you. And number 5, I wish I would have embraced the process earlier. I wish I didn't fight it so much. You know, Sooner or later, it's something that all women go through. And again, it can be such a wonderful journey. And so I wish that I didn't fight against it so much when it first started. Like, sometimes I still do. Like, sometimes when I have a hot flash, I get so mad and I'm like, enough already. But then I remember, and I sit and I let it pass. I pause a little bit and I let it pass. And I also think of all the wonderful things too that this journey has brought to my life, all the self awareness, my meditation practice that I started and I continued through, and my determination to learn and to grow as a person even more, especially entering 60. I'm going to be 60 soon, ladies. Especially entering my 6th decade. I'm so excited. Can you tell? Especially entering the 6th decade of my life, I would embrace the process sooner. I would have let go of, what society was talking about aging, because, society can get into our heads. And especially for me, personally, I'm talking about me. When this gray hair, you see this gray hair? When this gray hair started spreading, I was so self conscious about it. And I used to color my hair. Then, of course, I became allergic to the coloring, which was not a bad thing, because then I was like, you know what? I'm rocking this gray hair pretty well. And at one point, my hair is a little longer now. At one point, I shaved it all off. So it was like this long. And I rocked that thing with the gray in the front. And it took me a while to embrace that, because for me, all I thought that people saw was an old woman, which, come on now, I don't look like an old woman, even though I am. So, letting go of these things that society tries to make us conform to, I let it go. I talked about that in another video. Please go ahead and scroll and feel free to watch that video also about the things that I'm no longer, concerned with about society. And so I now embrace this leg of the journey. And like I said, I'm turning 60 soon, and I couldn't be more excited. And I want all of us to feel that excitement when we're turning 40 and 50 and 60 and 70. And you know what? Let's do it. We're strong women. one of you ladies wrote in the comments, about going through, and I'm like, yeah, we're strong. We can do this. We have got this. We were made for this, right? So those are 5 things that I wish I'd known before I entered menopause, and also what I would have done to make the journey a little smoother than it has been for me. I can say now that I am on the ups. I'm getting to the upside of it. The symptoms are still there, and sometimes new ones are still appearing. But now I know better. I know how to manage. I know how to pause, and I know how to rise up again with more power. And I am grateful that I've learned that. So I hope that you ladies will learn something from this video, and something that will ease the journey for you, make it a little more enjoyable. So please meet me here next time for the next video on the best foods that you can eat to manage your menopause, your hormonal ups and downs, and everything. And please be kind to yourselves, and I will see you next time. Ciao.